stick smoking between his fingers, wondering why he's dealing with menial tasks like hiring. Mr. Vey sits in his office, a poison stick smoking between his fingers, wondering why he's dealing with menial tasks like hiring. To her, gathering new recruits should be a bounty hunter's job, not that of a queen like her. But then he pauses. Why is this chore on his shoulders? His right-hand man nods, delivering the painful truth. The order comes from the very top. This was a direct order from the president himself. The boss had his eye on the new girl and even wanted to meet her in private. Mr. Vey winces. Would his mother never tire of chasing fresh meat and young faces? Talking to himself. Was her mother looking for a new toy for herself, or perhaps a young father for the family? Feeling nauseous, he asks for the photos, and the assistant hands over the file. And of course, opposite is the photo of Xiang Chao taken at the height of the fight. Mr. Wei gazes intently, like a tiger sizing up its prey. She might still look like a high school student, but the aura she exudes and that dominant charisma are undeniable. He thinks if they need this dough right, it could become a golden goose for the company. He's giving the order to his assistant. Print out the entire lineage of Xiang Chaoman and bring it to me. That afternoon, as the office clears out, Mrs. Vey walks to the window and watches the city chaos flowing below. For a moment, her mind drifts back to that boy who caught her eye. Of course, that boy is none other than Xiang Chao himself, the definition of trouble and charm. Meanwhile in the schoolyard, Xiang Chao is busy crushing the hoops. Yelong stands on the sidelines, like a supporting character about to explode with jealousy. When Xiang Chao sneezes, Yelong immediately takes the chance to say that if she's sick, she shouldn't spread the virus and should stop playing. He even suggests going up to the stands to lead the cheers. Because according to him, basketball is a sport for girls. Xiang Chao just shakes her head at this nonsense, saying she's not sick, her nose is just itchy. Ready to prove basketball isn't just for girls the moment he grabs the ball. And he sends the ball to the hoop in a way that defies the laws of physics. Her shirt rides up slightly as she jumps, creating that critical fan service moment. A girl watching from afar gasps. It feels like she just saw the eighth wonder of the world, those abs. Xiang Chao takes the field, proving that men can shine on the pitch too. Yelong takes a deep sigh because the stands are now roaring with Xiang Chao's name, as girls' screams rise for the best player on the court. Yelong then confides in Yehiva, talking about how strange it is that Xiang Chao became famous overnight. Even though Yehiva admits this is unusual, he switches to love-struck mode, saying as long as Xiang Chao is happy, nothing else matters. Yelong nods, admitting Xiang Chao is so cool that even the school's shyest girl, Xin Qin, is captivated by his charm. But not everyone's a fan. Sitting in the corner with Feng's fan, spitting hatred. With a smirk, she says Xiang Chao's only concern is picking up girls. She's surprised people can't see his true colors. According to Feng, Xiang Chao is nothing but an arrogant brat playing the innocent card. His sidekick agrees immediately. The girls are blinded from looking at that beautiful face. They can't see that devious character inside you. While Fenji warns them to stay alert, a sneaky shadow appears behind the pillars. A girl is secretly taking photos of Zhang Chao. Whispers to self. Sister Lu Xian promised money even for blurry photos. Betrayal and money are in the air. Just as I think they're perfect for the plan, Zhang Chao's radar kicks in and he suddenly looks that way. But seeing no one there, she shrugs. He probably thinks he's imagining things and goes back to the game, but the danger hasn't passed. The stalker lowers his camera with a devious grin. These photos will earn him $200. And in his twisted mind, betraying Zhang Chao's only friends was definitely worth the money. Zhang Chao and Yuehua say goodbye after school. Zhang Chao puts his hand on the girl's head. And with that classic romantic head rub, he says they'll see each other soon. Yuehua smiles. Love is in the air. But Yelong is determined to break the moment, clinging to Zhang Chao's arm to not feel left out, and demanding a special goodbye for himself too. Total clingy leech. Zhang Chao laughs it off. He gives him a light nudge, acting friendly as if to say, "Get out of here," in his own relaxed style. But then Zhang Chao suddenly freezes. His gaze shifts to the bushes. He spots the treacherous glint of a camera lens there. Someone was watching her. While Yelong was caught off guard, Zhang Chao's hunter instincts were already on high alert. He squints, muttering there's probably nothing, but can't shake the eerie feeling of being watched. For a moment, a terrible thought crosses your mind. Could that creep behind the camera have been his own sister? Or is it China? Jiang Hao trusts his instincts and walks toward the tree. The girl in hiding panics and starts rambling about how she did nothing wrong. Jiang Hao looks furious, his voice sharp as a knife, but secretly he's relieved the person hiding isn't his maniac sister. The woman across from him, Chin, immediately demands his phone, saying she will check if he recorded her. The girl's trying to defend herself. He's lying about only taking landscape photos. But would Jiang Hao fall for these tricks? Never. He makes her watch the video, shoving the footage she secretly recorded right in her face. Cornered, the mouse finally confesses that his source of inspiration was that famous lady. Lu Xian had convinced them. They're paying $200 per photo as long as the face is clear. They've literally started a manhunt. Jiang Hao can't believe Lu Xian is still pulling the strings from behind the scenes. And the girl, trembling, spills everything. The true Dark Lord of this region was none other than Lu Xian. Jiang Hao hinted that if he realizes what's up and deletes those damn photos, the girl can go to hell for all he cares. Trembling like an NPC whose life had been spared, the girl did as she was told and ran for her life. Now, the deal was up to Lu Xian. He should have looked out for himself. When Saturday arrived, Jiang Hao and his sidekick Yilong were heading to the mall. Yilong was so excited he couldn't sit still, asking if the contract with that famous broadcasting company had been signed. Jiang Hao nodded as if everything was taken care of. He didn't just sign, he slammed his fist on the table and dictated his own terms. The company had meekly given in to these terms. Jiang Chao's first order was to reclaim the gifts left over from previous broadcasts as loot. Now he needed Yilong's sharp trading wit to decide which to keep and which to return. Yilong's eyes lit up. After all, free vinegar was sweeter than honey. Who wouldn't love that? Zhang Xiaoyu even nudged him with a grin, trying to troll him by asking if a special girl sent the gift. At the same time, he resented Jiang Chao for not telling him about the bombs earlier. But once Jiang Chao explained the situation, Yilong understood what was going on. Our boy wanted to return the favor for the earrings from his sister by getting her a stylish gift. When Yilong felt like gossiping, he started asking about the contract details. Jiang Chao listed his conditions with the ease of a mafia boss. If he didn't want to, he wouldn't show his face. He didn't just have to play games, he would create whatever content his heart desired. She wouldn't attend any offline events without her own consent. Broadcasts were limited to 2 hours a day, 5 hours on weekends, plus at least 1 day off per week. And here was the most critical point. If the company expected any antics from him outside the game, he would have given advance notice. Most importantly, that beautiful face would remain hidden like a state secret. Yilong whistled in admiration, taking his hat off to Jiang Chao's bargaining skills. The only reason the company bent over backward like this was that Jiang Chao was already a legendary streamer. Hearing these compliments, Jiang Chao's cheeks flushed slightly, a bit embarrassed by the flattering words. As always, Jiang Chao lit up the room with his aura, even in a mall. Feng, the school bully, and his venomous snake gang were leering at her. They put him down for being the school's top beauty, while calling him a moral guardian hanging out with perverted girls. In their shallow world, this made Jiang Zi look like a fool. One of Fengun's lackeys smirked like a bimbo. If they were as beautiful as Jiang Chao, they wouldn't waste it on nonsense like he did. They said they hated people who used their beauty to be shameless. To stir the pot, another snake turned to her sister Fang and suggested they go to the beauty salon next door to try new lipsticks and calm their anger. It was their method of therapy. Feng brushed off the offer with a smug smile. She said her father recently gave her a fortune in allowance, so she could buy the lipsticks for her minions herself. Money was no more than a piece of paper to him. The sycophants let out cries of joy like dogs waiting for a bone from their masters. Then Feng leaned forward, his voice turning into something out of a horror movie. To test their loyalty, he ordered them to teach Jiang Chao a lesson. The minions excitedly swore that they would make the child cry. Because their plan was to catch her off guard, take photos from the worst angles, and spread them online. That way, they would show the whole school how ugly she actually was. Feng wagged his finger as a warning. The event should have been in a secret place, otherwise they risked getting caught. He grinned slyly, savoring the humiliation scene in his mind. The plan was built on destroying the boy's reputation. Of course, the real irony here was this. No matter how hard they tried, it was against the laws of physics to make Jiang Hao look ugly. The guy was too handsome without even trying. When Jiang Hao bought something expensive for his sister, Yilong chimed in, saying he must be Brother of the Year for dropping over $1,000 on just a belt. Jiang Hao remained calm, admitting that he's made a fortune since joining the streaming platform. Plus, Qin had gifted her a pair of real diamond earrings. So, it's only proper to give back something just as valuable in return. Yilong couldn't believe his ears. Is it a real diamond? He wouldn't believe this fairy tale until he saw it with his own eyes. As the pair headed toward the restroom, they were unaware that Funk and the Cincy gang were trailing them like shadows. The girls saw this as a perfect opportunity for bullying and exposure. But Funk, with a cunning move, distanced himself from the scene, ordering his lackeys to go inside while he kept watch outside. Her real fear was that if Jiang Hao saw her in the men's room, rumors would spread that she was a perverted stalker. As for his sycophants, too stupid to grasp this strategic move, they dived into the mission like kamikaze pilots. When Jiang Hao left the cabin, Yilong was tidying himself up in the mirror. Jiang Hao teased his friend to stop wearing that perfume, saying he smelled like a walking perfume ad. Right at that second, Fangan's two minions raided the men's room. Someone tried to shoulder check Jiang Hao but almost ate the floor because of their own clumsiness. Jiang Hao used his reflexes to grab the kid by the collar with a "What's up, kid? Look," while the other minion instantly started squealing. The girl beside him started screaming like a total drama queen, claiming Jiang Hao pushed her on purpose. Yilong can't stand this nonsense, and steps in to defend his friend. He throws it in her face that she tripped because of her own clumsiness, and that Jiang Hao is innocent. But instead of admitting his mistake, this extra, fuming with rage, marches right up to Yilong. Jiang Hao appears like a shadow at the last second. He pins the girl to the spot and sternly warns her to keep her hands to herself. If he dares touch his friend, he states in a cold voice that it's clearly a death wish. The girl tries to defend herself, but her voice trembles with fear. Claims he hit no one and mumbles about wanting to live. But his words were as weak as a buzzing fly against the terrifying aura emitted by Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao treats them like trash and orders them to move out of the way. But instead of backing down, the foolish girl tries to provoke him one last time. Jiang Hao spits at him and calls him disgusting. Thanks to his reflexes, Jiang Hao narrowly escapes this foul attack. His patience has finally run out. He pulls back his fist and delivers justice right to the middle of the girl's face. It reminds them they shouldn't expect mercy just because they're girls. The second girl screams like Bansi when her friend gets hit. Yellow can't stand this circus any longer, rolls up his sleeves, and steps forward. In seconds, the two sycophants clash, tangled in a fight so disgraceful even Jiang Hao grimaces in shame. It's painful to watch this miserable sight. So Jiang Hao decides to step in and show them what a real fight looks like. Gives them both a quick lesson. His strikes land fast, sharp, and controlled. It's like installing a software update into their brains that no one can stop. When the job is done, Jiang Hao tells them to mind their own business next time. One of the girls holding her face shouts that Jiang Hao will regret it. He shouts threats, saying he'll call his partner and have Jiang Hao dealt with. But Jiang Hao stands tall like an unshakable fortress, showing he's not the least bit afraid of these empty threats. As Jiang Hao and Yelong walk calmly outside the mall, Shu Qi returns with her muscular partner. Pointing his finger at Jiang Ziyu, he immediately starts complaining and lying to them that he was the attacker. Shu Qin's partner, a large girl like a tank, is glared at in disgust by Jiang Ziyu. The sidekick adds to the lies, making up that they were cornered in the bathroom with no way out. Fang slips away from the scene with his usual devious plans. First, he says he's going to the restroom and orders his pawns to take care of the beating. One of them suggests staying behind to take photos of Jiang Hao. But Fang is no fool. They'd rather keep a safe distance, pull out their phone, and secretly record every angle. His plan is devilishly simple. She'll upload the photos to the school forum and humiliate Jiang Hao by letting everyone see his miserable state. In the worst way possible, too. Shuchi continues to play the victim princess, shedding crocodile tears. But Jiang Hao doesn't hesitate. With no trace of fear in his eyes, he asks why these losers have returned. Yellen, more cautious, reminds them that they started the fight and that he and Jiang Hao only defended themselves. Jiang Hao is not on the defensive at all. On the contrary, there's a dangerous excitement on his face, as if he enjoys the chaos, and if they have something to say, he wants them to say it now instead of wasting everyone's time. But then something unexpected happens. Her burly partner, Zhang Xia, takes a close look for the first time, and her expression completely changes. Right then, she falls head over heels for our boy. His girlfriend Shuchi notices this and goes crazy with rage, screaming at him for looking so shamelessly. But the girl's mind is in a strange state of calm under the influence of love. That it doesn't matter what happened. Because he admits his girlfriend started the fight and that it was her fault, no matter what. The girl stiffens, but Jiang Hao turns back and apologizes on her behalf without hesitation. He says they should forget it and move on. Shuchi can't believe her ears. Being sold out so humiliatingly in public by her own boyfriend would drive her crazy. He asks his girlfriend if she's in love with Jiang Xia, but she just ignores it and leaves the question hanging. Jiang Hao interrupts with his famously blunt attitude. If they're having marital problems, she tells them to solve it elsewhere. He asks them to step aside so he and Yelong can move on without further drama. Shuchi can't believe what her own girlfriend is saying. But her boyfriend suddenly snaps and threatens to put her in a sack and throw her into the river if she doesn't shut up. After this psychopathic warning, he suddenly changes his tone and turns back to Jiang Hao. It says this. He suggests swapping numbers, saying there might have been a misunderstanding earlier. He even offers to give her a gift as an apology. Watching from the sidelines, Funk has already recorded this whole scene. He plans to upload the video and frame Jiang Xia as a homewrecker to ruin her reputation. Sneakily zooms in the camera. Hiding in the corner like a sneaky rat, he waited for that perfect angle to humiliate our hero. Just then, a luxury car entering the scene was about to change everything. Inside, the big boss Miss Wei had dollar signs in her eyes as she went over the second quarter earnings. But in that fateful moment, as he looked up from the files, he noticed that familiar silhouette standing right in front of his car. The target was Jiang Hao. Phone was so focused on filming that he didn't even feel the army of gangsters closing in right behind him. Lu Xinin's hand rested on Feng's shoulder like a block of ice. When he asked who she was filming, the poor girl forgot her own name out of fear and started to stutter. But when Lu Xian glanced at the phone, he realized the situation. This insolent man had his eye on his beloved and was secretly taking photos of her. Though his face was calm, his words cut like a razor. He turned to the woman and asked if she had a death wish or was just tired of living. What's more, she even dared to fit her man on the same land as another woman. Without hesitation, Lu Xian grabbed the girl by the throat and lifted her into the air. Foam was struggling frantically, saying he made a mistake. He knew well she was the queen of this region, and someone like Jiang Hao could never afford to cross her. Lu Xian said, "In that case," and decided to drag the girl to meet her boyfriend. As Lu Xian moved forward with his prey, even the pile of muscle beside him started sweating in fear. While questioning why this girl was hanging out with such a dangerous guy, Lu Xian was already right in Jiang Hao's face. Even though only 2 days had passed, he said he was burning with longing. Our boy, meanwhile, was like a wall, not a single expression on his face. Even Ilong was spooked by the dark aura the woman gave off, but Jiang Hao only cared about ending this nonsense as quickly as possible. Because the front of the mall was swarming with obsessive fans popping up like mushrooms. He was about to turn and leave when Lu Xian stopped him and mentioned the small gift he brought as a peace offering. He said he just threw Feng, whom he grabbed by the throat, to the ground like a trash bag and handed him over to her to punish as she pleases. But Jiang Hao wouldn't fall for these cheap tricks. He asked what she was really after. At Lu Xian's snap, his men scattered in all directions. Just as we thought a new fight was starting, those guys came back with a bouquet of flowers the size of a giant funeral wreath. Lu She was totally head over heels for the guy. He promised he'd give her the world if she agreed to be his girlfriend. Jiang Hao, meanwhile, thought the woman was a complete psycho-stalker. Still, he politely said he wasn't interested. He used being in a hurry as an excuse to get away from that crazy relationship. The woman was begging him to at least take the flowers. The one who pulled a knife on our first date is now offering a rose, isn't that ironic? This was literally writing the book on emotional manipulation. Jiang Hao wouldn't fall for that trap. He made his stance clear. She didn't want to be lovers, and she didn't want those damn flowers either. It reminded me of what happened in the alley just a few hours ago. The woman had threatened to kill him. The best thing was to erase their memories and go their separate ways as if they'd never met. Otherwise, he would have gotten the police involved. The Yakuza-looking men were left speechless by Jiang Kaonin's courage. But she scolded her men and pushed them aside to stop them from getting between her and Lu Xian. Yilong had started to tremble. As she asked if her friend would be executed right then and there, the woman's piercing gaze finally locked onto Yilong. He recognized his buddy instantly. Jiang Hao realized then that she hadn't just researched him, but his entire family. The woman, with total audacity, argued that it was only natural to be curious about her future boyfriend's circle. She even hinted that the girls in her own gang were crushing on Jiang Hao and his crew. When he said he couldn't stop those girls' obsessions, the toxic message behind his words was crystal clear. Behind that innocent tone, she was threatening Yilong's life. Jiang Hao was forced to change the route. He offered to bury the past and asked the woman to get to the point and say what she wanted. But Lu Xian didn't seem like she would give up on her love. She wanted to hear those magic words of love and have a drink. Jiang Hao pulled his face away from her hand in disgust and asked for the meeting address. Lu Xian smiled like a victorious commander. He was to wait for his prey at the restaurant on the west side at 7 in the evening. And him saying goodbye by calling her, honey, just made the kid's stomach turn. Yilong stepped in immediately and pulled his friend aside. He was asking what a walking crime machine like her was doing all alone among those tattooed types. She kept repeating that he'd be vulnerable, that this would end badly, and that they should call the police if necessary. But Jiang Hao knew the situation wasn't that simple. These professionals had a spotless record. The police couldn't do anything. If they provoked that psychopath, he'd make life a living hell for both of them. He had no choice but to sacrifice himself. She was going to go on that date tonight. Luckily, he felt confident in the kung fu moves he'd been practicing lately. At least he wouldn't get beaten up. Can't they hurt him? Actually, Yilong is the one who should be careful. Hearing this, his buddy Yilong starts bawling his eyes out as if a funeral march were playing. The poor kid feels like he's sacrificing his best friend to some fiery pit of hell. Right in the middle of this emotional moment, an uninvited guest enters the stage, Ms. Wei's aide. John Kaoya's henchman hints that the boss wants to see him, and if he doesn't come quietly, it'll end badly. Our boy realizes once again just how much of a headache this reverse curse business has become. He's fed up with girls chasing him 24/7 and harassing him. He's literally sick of this attention. He's about to ask who the boss is, but before he gets an answer, he's surrounded by hulking bodyguards. Jiang Hao is left stunned by what happened. He could never have imagined so many people coming at him all at once. Yilong sends him home, saying, "Go on, champ," and says he'll call if anything happens. Then Jiang Hao follows the assistant toward the main headquarters. Once he reaches the venue, things get serious. Inside, he's greeted by a powerful woman radiating an aura of absolute dominance. The tension in the air is making even Jiang Hao sweat. The woman introduces herself as Wei Nan, the Empress of Feng Hong Media. Without missing a beat, she struts right up to him on her clicking heels and drops the bombshell. Turns out his first stream broke the internet and took the world by storm. Our sister Wei Nan hands that shady contract to our naive boy, whispering the lie that she'll definitely make him a superstar if he signs. But that's not how it really is. Seeing the terms, Jiang Hao's eyes nearly pop out of his head as he examines the contract in horror. When he realizes your current state is 1,000 times better than this slavery deal, he politely apologizes and mumbles that it was all a big misunderstanding. Not caring about fame or glory, his only concern is making it to dinner, so he says goodbye and tries to bolt. Just as he's about to flee, the sidekick assistant jumps in front of him, saying a grand figure like the CEO has graced him with an audience and not to be rude. He's using cheap emotional blackmail, reminding us that this woman doesn't usually go out in public and that Wei Nan did her a special favor. Jiang Hao won't fall for this drama, of course. He calmly pulls a kung fu move and brushes the woman's sticky hand off him. He repeats that he doesn't want a contract and heads for the door, but on his way out, he pulls the woman so hard that the assistant gives into gravity. As the poor woman hits the floor face first, Wei Nan sees this and realizes with shock that the boy isn't defenseless. He can actually protect himself. The moment he sees this, he bolts like a rocket and tries to land a solid one on our guy. Fortunately, Jiang Hao skillfully blocks the attack. He even throws a counterpunch, but she's as quick as a snake. Even to him, it feels surreal for a high schooler to know kung fu at this level. He's absolutely crazy about the kid's talent and admits he's impressed. Despite the praise, Jiang Hao maintains his steady composure. She thanks him for the compliment but says she'll never accept Wei Nan's sneaky offer. The woman acts as if she didn't hear his refusal and gives him time to think, saying there's nothing in the world she can't get. Total profile of an obsessed maniac. While Wei Nan orders his assistant to let it go, Jiang Hao realizes this woman is no pushover and will cause major trouble. Returning home, Jiang Hao starts preparing like a psychopath, grabbing a voice recorder, a razor, and pepper spray instead of planning a romantic date. He covers his bases by texting, "If you don't hear from me by 8:30 at Elong's, call the police. They've chopped me into pieces." He knows if he doesn't settle the score with that Lu Xian woman tonight, his peaceful life will turn into a total nightmare. When he arrives, the girl at the door says, "My boss is waiting for you," and lets him in. It's like a sacrificial lamb walking to the slaughterhouse on its own feet, and inside, Lu Xian is sprawled on the sofa like a queen with two thugs beside her. The whole vibe feels like a thriller. Ignoring the formalities, Jiang Hao gets straight to the point and states his intention in a cold voice. Lu Xian says for both their sakes they should act like strangers, or things will get very ugly. Even if the parties don't know each other, the tension in the room is palpable. Lu Xian looks like she's sucking a lemon. He acts all dissatisfied, as if the guy asked him for the impossible. Standing there with a wine glass, like a predator eyeing its prey, he makes that sickening offer. The condition is quite clear. The man only needs to satisfy her once. If he puts up with this torture for one night, she'll finally leave him alone. To top it all off, even the receptionist giggles and teases the guy about how great this offer is. Jiang Hao just shakes his head at these asylum escapees. Knowing damn well she talks such nonsense, he reaches for his phone and decides to call the police. Lu Xian, however, laughs heartily at this move. He says involving the police is a loser move and tries to market this perversion as an innocent search for love. Supposedly they'll find love in each other. How romantic. Even his assistant joins the madness, saying he should stop resisting and surrender to his fate. And he drops the bombshell. If the man doesn't behave, they'll force him into custody and serve him up to Lu Xian. It's chilling to even think about what will happen after that point. They're threatening to leak your photos online. The woman curls her lip with a nasty smirk and tells him to stop playing hard to get. Jiang Hao is stunned by the woman's sheer audacity. The woman thinks he's trembling with fear and keeps lecturing him. And he wants Lu Xian to obey her sister's orders. As for Jiang Hao, in all his life, he's never seen someone with such a twisted mindset. He thinks you've never heard it before. Luckily, the voice recorder in his pocket is working perfectly. And then Lu Xian drops the bombshell. And he admits that the assistant by his side is actually his biological sister. With a sickening smile on his face, is Jiang Hao spending the night by himself, or? He's asking if you want to spend time with your brother included. Right then, Lu Sinan's brother pulls his knife as if slicing butter and points it at Jiang Hao. Jiang Hao gives him a piercing look, asking how he dares pull a knife and if they'll really finish him off if he resists. But our boy Jiang Hao was already set to go. He pulled out that famous pepper spray and sprayed it right into their eyes without hesitation. While the girls began to writhe and cry in pain, one of them stepped up to be a hero. But Lu Xian's brother was busy clawing around blindly. Jiang Hao didn't miss the chance. He grabbed the knife and held it to the girl's throat. He whispered he'd paint the place red if she moved. The troublemaker turned to Lu Xian and gave a final warning. Either let me go, or you'll burn. But the woman just giggled like it was a joke and mocked him, calling him a brave boy. Our guy used Lu Xian's brother as a human shield and backed out of that den before bolting. He shouted that if they sent another female assassin after him, the streets would turn into a bloodbath, and even the police wouldn't be able to save them. Lu Xinxi, still unaware of the gravity of the situation, enjoyed himself, thinking he had plenty of time to play with his prey. Just then, his face fell at the message on his phone. Jiang Hao had already transferred those disgraceful photos to his own phone. Plus, with that evil smile, she rubbed it in his face that she recorded every single thing they just blurted out, second by second. She said if they touch her or her friend, she'll leak the recording to the police. Lu Xian never thought this mama's boy could be such a sly fox. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows, an agent of Vena watched everything. He sent word to his queen, reporting that the boy was safe. A few days had passed, and Jiang Hao sat at his school desk, brooding over that madness from 2 days ago. Kate wasn't sure if it worked. The woman was a total nutcase. If she kept acting crazy, things were going to get messy. Then he would have to switch to plan B. Lost in deep thought, he overheard the whispers of the gossiping girls nearby. They were talking about Lu Xian being pulled, replaced by someone else. It felt like the whole vibe of the neighborhood had changed suddenly. Everyone was saying he would reveal the new boss's identity this afternoon. Everyone was dying of curiosity. When one of the girls asked how this coup stayed so quiet, the other said the Fang Hong group had handled it. They fired Lu Xian just to protect the company's image after those harassment cases in the area. Jiang Hao couldn't believe what he heard and frowned. What would such a giant company want with a neighborhood feud? When the name sounded familiar, the penny dropped. It was Wena's company that protected him. But still, he couldn't make sense of it. What could Wena possibly have to do with that psychopath Lu Xian? After school, he headed home with 1,000 questions on his mind. The moment she stepped inside, she found her stepsister Qinchin all dressed up and waiting for her. This was not a good sign at all. She said she was cooking with that eerie but sweet smile on her face. Jiang Hao immediately went on the defensive and did a parental check at home. Qinchin announced the good news that Mom and Dad would be working late tonight. So the two fireballs were left alone at home together. Somehow, this made his blood boil. In her old world, if a man and a woman were alone, there would definitely be some action. As disaster scenarios and dark thoughts swarmed his mind, he was startled by Qinchin's voice and snapped back to reality. When asked what was wrong, Jiang Hao panicked. He suggested dropping the subject and digging into the food. Deep down, he was angry with himself. Even if you aren't related by blood, she's your sister, son. Pull yourself together, he thought to himself. But Qinchin was like a wolf on the hunt. It was as if she could read every split-second frame passing through the boy's mind. After the meal, Qinchin authoritatively sent Jiang Hao back to his room. She told him to do his homework, and then start that famous stream of his. She played the self-sacrificing big sister by saying she'd do the dishes. When Jiang Hao offered to help, the girl touched his hand gently but in a heart-fluttering move. He couldn't bear to let his dear sister's delicate hands be ruined by detergent. Our guy just nodded, sweating from all the attention. The girl was beautiful, she moved gracefully, like a walking masterpiece. In his old life, he would have taken or fired a bullet for a woman like her. But he never imagined that living with a sister like this would be so challenging. He started his stream around 7. He greeted his audience with enthusiasm and reminded them of that golden rule. No face reveals in this stream, only mystery. 2 hours later, Qinchin burst into the room, shut off the computer, and said it was time to hit the sack. Luckily, Jiang Hao had already ended the stream and switched into model child mode. Qinchin was mesmerized by this view. He offered a massage as an excuse to relieve her fatigue. The way she slid onto the edge of the bed sent signals that were far from innocent. This move was clearly a different kind of invitation. Jiang Hao's pulse surged. He started squirming, saying, "No need, sis, just go to bed." But Qinchin pulled him closer and insisted they rest together, saying she cherished his sweet heart for thinking of her. He leaned over and began to stroke her hair. Jiang Hao was enjoying that softness on one hand, while feeling guilty on the other, thinking it was wrong. Family is supposed to look out for each other, but this wasn't that look. This closeness took Qinchin back to her past, back to her own childhood. When Jiang Hao remembered the moment he first saw him as a baby, his tears began to flow like a river. Jiang Hao was caught off guard when he saw the woman crying. He didn't know what to do and started talking nonsense. He's trying to clear his name, yet deep down he knows he's innocent and hasn't done anything wrong. Still, he can't shake that gnawing feeling of uncertainty. While wiping away her crocodile tears, Chin Chin claims she's crying out of happiness, wrapping our naive boy around her finger. He goes on and on about what a great honor it is to be her brother. And he praises the pleasure that being a part of this family gives him. It seems just saying it out loud is enough to feed that strange, dark sense of satisfaction inside. But Jiang Hao is immediately fooled and moved by this drama. His sister's obsessive love is a brand new experience for him, something he's not used to at all. It's a feeling he's never felt before. Poor thing, at least she thinks the missing pieces of the puzzle are complete, and her father is finally free from that loneliness. As Jiang Hao surrenders to this embrace, he makes that classic shonen vow in his heart. As long as he draws breath in this world, he will protect his family from any danger and burn the world down for their happiness. Then he turns to comfort Chin Chin, whispering that they have a long time together, and this family bond will never be broken. When Chin Chin hears these words, her cheeks turn red like rosy apples. He's backpedaling, claiming he never normally cries and that this time was just a little accident. Turning her head in shame and stealing glances, Jiang Hao calmly breaks the tension by saying there's nothing to be embarrassed about. While thanking her for treating him like her own brother, he's naturally unaware of the devious plans in her head. Meanwhile, Chin Chin chuckles to herself, thinking that perhaps, from the very beginning, they were destined to become a real family in that sense. With the air of a prowling predator, Chin Chin invites Jiang Hao to the bed, and within seconds, their bodies are dangerously close. Cold sweat pours down Jiang Hao's forehead as he questions the invitation's true purpose, while a blood-curdling smile appears on the girl's face. Supposedly, he's sacrificing himself to sleep next to our boy so he won't be scared of monsters while his parents are away, if you buy that, of course. What's more, by unleashing that dark desire within, he confesses he's dreamed for years of lying by her side and listening to her breathe. Relishing the thrill of finally cornering his prey, Jiang Hao feigns ignorance, but the perverse thoughts crossing his mind have already given him away. While Jiang Hao is spellbound by the beauty beside him, Chin Chin suddenly shifts the subject with a sly maneuver and starts digging into his type in girls. Our guy is sweating bullets, mumbling that he's just looking at beauty, but she doesn't stop, diving deep into fantasies and asking if he likes it wild or tame, making the air even more tense. They even push him to see if there's anyone in class his type. As Jiang Hao falls into deep thought, the innocent Yehiva suddenly appears in his mind. Maybe that's what he's looking for. She's beautiful, quiet as a mouse, a gentle angel who'll never give you a headache. Chin Chin goes crazy with anger when she sees the boy drifting off into another world. He's putting the kid in his place by reminding him he's still a high school brat. They say love that comes too early ends in sadness. But that's not the real danger. Our sister looks at his beautiful face and starts feeling troubled. It's as if he's worried the she-wolves on the street will gobble up this little lamb. Jiang Hao whispers softly with his usual innocence, trying to lighten the mood. The eerie warmth of your lap is more than enough to make him drowse off. But when you open your eyes, things change, of course. It turns out he wasn't in his sister's soft arms, but hugging his own pillow. Turns out it was all just one of those strange and disturbing dreams. Like a dizzy chicken, he goes down and starts looking for the female in the house. In that confusion, the name Lu Xian accidentally slips out of his mouth. It's not enough, he keeps bringing up the past and stirring things up. When he finally finds the right name and bursts into the room, he realizes the bird has flown the nest and escaped to the lab again. His eyes drift to the collection of novels on the shelf. Thinking his sister probably won't mind, he decides to snatch one. First, he sees a cliché title like The Strongest Emperor, but the cursed volume right next to it catches his eye like a magnet. What is it about? That forbidden, uncultured relationship between a brother and sister. The pages are so full of indecent scenes that your face turns from red to purple while reading. Zhang Chao freezes, his face as red as a tomato. Could it be that behind the innocent image of China lie these kinds of perverted fantasies in their subconscious? But he quickly shakes his head and brushes these dirty thoughts away. Our naive boy thinks his sister can do no wrong, but then a pain hits him like a sledgehammer to the brain. That sinister scene appears before your eyes again. In front of him, a glasses-wearing brunette bombshell, and beside her, two snotty-nosed brats crying their eyes out. The woman is screaming at him at the top of her lungs, but not a single word can be heard, as if she's underwater. He just stares like an idiot, not knowing what's going on. The next day, he goes back to his routine and starts his stream, but this time it's a total disaster. Since her mood is in the gutter, she has to end the live stream abruptly. He knows it too. His performance is beyond disgraceful. While Chin wondered if she was truly infatuated with him, those damn hallucinations began crowding her mind again. This drove him into a paranoid daze, and seeing that pathetic drop in followers when the stream ended was the final blow. The audience's old fiery energy was gone. The dead atmosphere had driven our hero to the brink of a nervous breakdown. While making money from this digital begging was already stressful enough, the pressure now felt like a ton. Then that ominous message appeared on the screen. Even if the damn system deigned to say stability was back, it still rubbed in his face that growth had slowed to a snail's pace. To top it off, he was literally mocking him by suggesting he beg the manager and plead for tactics to boost his popularity. Jiang Chao's face soured. Meeting that damn manager would have brought nothing but trouble. The next day, that damn notification screen popped up again. Day after day, it hit him over and over like a horror movie. Jiang Chao was fed up with this digital harassment, but the system had no intention of letting go, like an obsessed ex. Then that nuisance of a manager asked why he wasn't live yet, so he lost his temper and snapped back. The woman immediately started playing the guilt trip card. It's as if his fans were waiting for his return like hungry wolves, ready to celebrate the moment they see him. When asked to dance or show her face, Jiang Chao stood his ground, reminding her of that famous contract. According to the contract, he was to start the stream whenever he felt like it, so she immediately backtracked to fix the situation. He tried to calm her down, saying he was just making innocent suggestions and hinting he'd send new and strange plans. Still, she couldn't help but remind him of the meeting in 2 days. Jiang Chao dropped the subject, saying he'd never reveal his mysterious identity. The manager was on cloud 9 because she had a date with a handsome guy. But Jiang Chao saw the whole process as a total chore and a waste of time. Seeing those poor men making fools of themselves for a few cents on screen made him sick, and he swore an oath. He'd rather lose all his wealth than sell his honor. He decided to take a look at that damn file anyway. The first option was for him to dance like a monkey. And second, he dressed up like a Greek god and posed, which was a total embarrassment. And third, she recorded herself while working out. According to Jiang Chao, all of these ideas were terrible. He had no intention of using his dignity as entertainment for the audience. 3 days later, he showed up at that cafe with Ilong. Ilong boasted about his friend's massive fame, noting that the manager personally came to visit him. While ours shrugged it off with indifference, Song Qing greeted them with a forced but warm smile. Jiang Chao didn't mince words and told her directly that none of those 3 ridiculous ideas interested him. The woman smiled slyly. She knew as well as her own name that the first 2 options were going to waste anyway. But he insisted on the last option. He set down his coffee and approached, dangerously closing the distance between them. She admitted she was watching him do his chest exercises. Since he wouldn't show his face. In that case, he could wear a mask and show off his body while working out. That way, its precious mystery wouldn't be ruined. While viewers were captivated by his imposing physique, he would stand out and make a difference. To her, working out while streaming was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He was going to stay fit while making money. When even Ilong agreed with this illogical offer, Jiang Chao fell into deep thought. If he broke a sweat in front of the camera, he wouldn't have to overexpose himself. Plus, maybe it could inspire other men. Fired up to gather the power of his fellow men and change their image in the eyes of women, he accepted the offer. He came home saying he'd put on a mask show 2 or 3 times a week, but a disaster was waiting for him there. Furious with rage, the father loomed over his son like a nightmare and roared. He shouted like a total tyrant that he never let her expose her chest or face to everyone. Bai Jiang said his son should be grateful he let him play while wrestling. He definitely wasn't going to let her show off her body in those tight workout clothes. It was impossible. While father and son were at each other's throats, Chen Qin burst in and cut short this ridiculous fight. Jiang said Kanan was right, he deserved a chance, and he'd personally supervise it. She promised her father that if he does anything inappropriate, she'll shut down the stream and pull the plug instantly. The old man grumbled about how she spoiled her son, admitted defeat, and left the room. Jiang Hao took a deep breath and thanked the girl. If he hadn't stepped in, he and his father would be at each other's throats. Chin waved off the thanks and reminded him that he'd be watching his every move. He knew how much of a pain people online could be, and he wasn't about to let his guard down. Just as he said he wouldn't let his little brother be harassed, Jiang Hao finally finished setting up his stream in his room. She announced to the viewers that she prepared a very special program today and won't disappoint those who want to see her face. But the main thing was sports. He started telling them how to make their hearts explode with aerobic training. He advised them to start with a light jog so they wouldn't wreck their joints or end up with an injury. He said he prepared for this show in advance and pressed the button to start the action. The chat screen froze the moment Jiang Hao started running. The viewers absolutely lost it at what they saw. People have already started worshipping the guy. They treat every muscle movement like a work of art, as if he's a statue in a museum. Jiang Hao notices the stream is turning into total chaos. The viewers don't care about sports, they're literally just voyeurs. Meanwhile, the girls in the chat are swooning at their screens. They think this is the solidest meteor they've ever seen. Some women look at the screen with such appetite that they're a moment away from divorcing their husbands and leaving home. Watching from the sidelines, Manhwa smirks deviously. He knew for a fact our boy would take over the platform, of course. Some rich guy throws a wallet during the stream. If Jiang Hao runs for 15 minutes straight, he'll drop cash like firing 2 rockets at his head. Our guy wouldn't pass this up. He laughs, calling it pocket change, and hits the gas to show the power of a real man. It's been 30 minutes, and Jiang Hao still shows no signs of fatigue. He keeps working like a machine. But on the other side, Chen is watching the stream, bursting with envy. It makes his stomach churn that so many people are hitting on his sister. She's tripping out, thinking the kid is all grown up and will fly the coop soon. After finally finishing his workout, Jiang Hao leads the crowd, eager to recruit new disciples to his sports sect. When you say you're taking a shower and coming back, everyone's imagination runs wild. Just then, Chen bursts into the room and asks with fake concern if she's tired. Just for the sake of conversation. He's subtly hinting that it's hard to work out and stream at the same time, suggesting he should cut back. Jiang Hao feels down for a second but quickly recovers and tries to calm his sister down. He says he's already working alone like a dog every day, so at least now he's making a little money. The girl, who puts a towel in his hand, suddenly slaps it on the boy's buttocks and starts to shower. The cold is just an excuse. Jiang Hao is frozen with shock. He's trying to figure out if his sister is high or possessed by a demon. He chases away his dirty thoughts and fools himself into believing she's just showing compassion. When night falls, our obsessed lady is at it again, standing over the sleeping boy and brooding. They dive into dusty memories, thinking things would go wrong if they made a mistake in the past. She remembers when she innocently gave him flowers, but now the tension she brings to the room feels like a thriller as she stares him down, studying his face. Leaning in close, locking onto the lips, as hearts pound like drums, Jiang Hao stirs in his sleep. Whatever the boy is seeing in his dream, he turns his head to escape it. Ours just stands there like a thief caught red-handed. When he realizes what he's done, he goes back to the old days when Jiang Hao was still a snotty kid. It turns out that little girl who saw a lonely poor soul and offered to play was our obsessed sister. Since then, they'd been glued to each other. She even beat up all the neighborhood bullies for him. The girl was so strong that Jiang Hao was sometimes more terrified of this maniac than the people she was beating up. She might fight to protect, but she's a total loose cannon who can't handle rejection. She would grab the boy by the collar, terrifying him and forcing him to swear they'd be together forever. As the moment ends with a threatening invitation, Jiang Hao wakes up drenched in sweat, already forgetting the dream. Thinking he's seeing things, he gets ready to hop out of bed so he won't be late for school. But what's that? His sixth sense goes off. He turns his head and sees his sister practically lying right there next to him. The moment she notices, she screams. Chen opens his eyes and says good morning with total cheek. While she tells him to get ready for school like nothing happened, the boy wonders why he's still in bed. She says she came to check on him at night, found the child so sweet while sleeping, and couldn't resist curling up next to him. If you only knew, Jiang Hao wants to scream that this woman is a total creep, but it's no use. Luffy decides it's best to pack up and get out before YouTube gets him into trouble. And Chinchin steps up his game, promising he'll soon get a shiny new car to personally drop her off at school. Later, as Jiang Hao looks at kung fu posters on his phone, Yu Hua appears and says, "I wrote the book on this." When asked when he learned, he shows off by saying he's been able to break people's faces since childhood. The fact that a girl who uses weapons like toys is also a martial arts master completely blows Jiang Hao's mind. He says his grandmother was a tough veteran and that's where his patriotic heart comes from. After Jiang Hao gives him a boost and says he believes in him, he tells me, "Teach me a few tricks so I can show off a bit." While it's still early, they decide to head to the backyard and start their getting beaten up training. Yu Hua takes the chance to be alone and accepts the offer with a meaningful smile, but he has very different plans in mind. Jiang Hao, still naive despite the strange situation, suggests working up a sweat with a quick duel first. Supposedly, the master is going to test the girl's fighting technique. Both take their positions with lightning speed, but the predator already had his eyes on the prey. Yu Hua darts out like a rocket. Our boy gets blindsided, and before he can even put his guard up, he hits the floor like a sack of potatoes. It's impossible to resist the girl's monstrous strength. Yu Hua pins him down and immediately leaps on top of him. Realizing he was humiliated before he could even lift a hand, Jiang Hao helplessly accepts his fate and waves the white flag. And Yu Hua claims the reward instantly. Before the poor guy even realizes what's happening, the girl leans in and starts eagerly vacuuming his ear. A chilling sensation like an electric current pulses through your body. She's moaning in ecstasy, but when her brain finally kicks in, her face turns as red as a beet. While he's shocked by the wild creature emerging from that shy girl, Yu Hua pulls back and asks playfully. Jiang Hao is shocked by such an impertinent question. Did he say he liked it? The answer's obvious. The man's already lost his mind. Who could say no to such a wet attack? But the girl's sudden split personality and her dominant move completely fry the guy's brain. While Jiang Hao buried his face in his hands in shame, Yu Hua squirmed in place, terrified of having ruined everything. Since the girl still felt like a ticking time bomb in his arms, Jiang Hao wanted to avoid this dangerous contact and get her off him immediately. When they finally sat up properly after escaping that heart attack-inducing position, he asked her which pervert taught her those naughty tricks. Jiang Hao refused to believe that the mind of such an innocent angel could be so corrupt, but Yu Hua said he had no direct teacher. Turns out he picked up all these adult maneuvers from those shady videos Anastasia sent. Jiang Hao froze in terror. Our boy suspected that the schemes in those videos weren't innocent, and the moment he looked at the screen, he saw the horrific and nauseating truth with his own eyes. That blonde witch Anastasia turned out to be a total creep, and if this corruption continues, the innocent Yu Hua will soon turn into an R18 character. Poor Yu Hua, falling for Anastasia's nonsense and thinking this is the peak of male-female communication. With trembling eyes, she wondered if she had made a mistake. Django took a deep breath to avoid shattering the girl's innocent world and gently tried to explain that normal people don't send such perverted things to each other. He drilled into her head that this kind of action only happens between couples and she shouldn't do it with him or anyone else on the street. Our guy immediately keeps his distance and snaps at her, saying we're just friends. No kissing in public like that, those are things only lovers do. Just as she's about to skip class, Yu Hua suddenly cuts her off. With no shame or hesitation, he asks, "So, when are we going to be a couple, huh?" Look at Django. Poor guy, he doesn't even know what dating is. You can tell by that blank expression his head is completely empty. Our boy's laying down the law. He says first go learn what it means, then we'll talk. But this answer wraps around the girl's mind like poison ivy. The girl's had a taste of that moment. Would she ever give it up? She's always popping up around Zhonggan, pestering the guy to finally talk to her. Zhang goes playing hide-and-seek all day, looking for a place to run. Even Ilong finally notices and asks why this girl's following you like a shadow. Our guy's totally chill, just shrugs it off and glides by. It's the curse of being handsome. He just brushes it off by saying she's trouble, just like the other girls. Meanwhile, Leo's on the balcony, watching like a vulture stalking its prey. He's losing his mind over how a rich princess like Yuhua could fall for this guy. Just as I'm about to dive into deep thought, a new player enters the stage. A disaster in a suit, Cameras capture the moment Jiang Hao pulls over. A sly smile appears on the woman's lips. Evil plans have already started spinning in his head. He thinks he finally found the proof he's looking for. The goal is clear: make Jiang Hao look like a pervert and a womanizer. Nan's assistant is waiting in ambush at that famous spot where lovers hang out. Jiang Hao must be ashamed for standing there, so he's urging the girl to hurry up. The girl apologizes for her previous behavior with crocodile tears. To apologize in person and to. As the scene changed, Jiang Hao shook his head, standing firm like a granite rock against Nan's pressure, making it clear his mind would never change. Even though he told him not to waste his time and pointed to the door, the assistant was in full mission mode, rambling on about just following orders. It was a pitiful situation for her, knowing her boss would likely eat her alive if she returned to the office without convincing Jiang Hao. The assistant was almost on the verge of tears on his knees, begging him to at least pick up the damn phone. Our hero gave in to that damn soft-heartedness of his again, and finally folded, unable to stand her pathetic state any longer. Knowing he couldn't win against the evil Zion's power for now, he picked up the phone, and Nana's chilling voice echoed in his ears. Jiang Hao wastes no time and snaps back with his typical stubbornness. His mind hasn't changed. He has no intention of coming under this woman's yoke. But even though a queen like Nan doesn't have a single second to waste on such a rookie, she doesn't miss the chance to push the boy's buttons right where it hurts. When she probes Jiang Hao's deepest wound, exposing his weakness and desire for power, he turns into a speechless statue from utter shame. He had seen countless eyes in his life, but looking into this boy's, he saw a pure and wild warrior spirit lying within. He said he liked this reckless courage, but he couldn't help but warn her. Every step he took would determine whether his future would be bright or dark. Hanging up the phone, Jiang Hao faces a cold reality. This woman Nan isn't just powerful, she's a total devil. No one hits people where it hurts like he does, and he's a true master at hiding his real game. Ours is forced to accept defeat and sets up a meeting time. On the other side, Nan is drunk with victory because her predictions came true. He knew for a fact that Jiang Hao would give up. The next day, a sleek car appearing at the school gate attracts all eyes like a magnet. As students gather around whispering with curious looks, Jiang Hao gets out of the car and thinks about how beautiful the weather is. It's the definition of comfort. Chin, who got the car, has now taken on the task of dropping her off at school. She even fixes the kid's hair at the door, going into full-on mom mode. Saying he'll pick it up later and leaving, Jiang Hao sighs deeply, overwhelmed by all the attention. Chen's anxiety grows daily, and if this suffocating attention continues, our boy might not be able to take it. After lunch, the school turned into a massive gossip mill. Everyone's glued to their phones, whispers spread like waves as Jiang Hao walks down the hall. The girls are talking about just one thing. It turns out Jiang Hao is a serial heartbreaker, hurting people left and right. In fact, according to most girls, he's just a sugar baby living off rich women's money. Ilong has smelled this strange scent in the air since yesterday but can't make sense of it. People are avoiding them like the plague, but neither Jiang Hao nor Ilong can figure out why they're being shunned. This eerie atmosphere follows them right into the classroom. Then the guy collecting assignments starts walking around the desks. When Jiang Hao sees her empty seat, he puts on that disgusting, mocking smirk and starts spitting his venom. Apparently, he couldn't find time for his homework because he was too busy writing those steamy novels of his. People like Jiang Hao. He's only putting in the effort so beautiful women will feed them. Jiang Hao calmly takes his notebook out of his bag and taps it on the desk. He's not falling for these cheap tricks. He looks right into the kid's eyes and says, "Be honest, buddy, you're just jealous of my handsome face," putting him in his place. The kid turns bright red with rage and denies it. He shifts it up a notch, saying, "I'd never do those disgusting things you do." He keeps beating around the bush, implying that Jiang Hao is a paid gigolo. He claims to be superior to him both in school and with women. With tension at its peak, Ilong steps in and stands by his pal like a fortress. Even though he tells the kid to shut up, our jealous guy gets even cockier instead of backing down. And finally, he lets the cat out of the bag. According to school rumors, Jiang Hao is involved in some secret relationships. Word is, he's hooking up with some rich woman who comes to the school gates. They even have photos as evidence. Those shots of Jiang Hao with different women at different times prove he's everyone's pet. Ilong immediately defends himself, shouting that no one in their right mind would believe this nonsense, but things are more serious than he thinks. He pulls out his phone, checks the school gossip forum, and his eyes pop out at what he sees. Dozens of students are lynching Jiang Hao. The girls are calling her a gold digger, and those photos are being published everywhere. In one of the photos, only his sister Qinchin is speaking, but people have twisted it so much that rumors are flying everywhere. Ilong is going crazy. She shouts that people are spreading these lies just because they're jealous of Jiang Hao. It's a clear smear campaign. Just as I'm saying the truth will eventually come out, an official from the administration bursts into the classroom, and everything changes. They say they read Jiang Hao's name and have to take him away. Our guy follows them, resigned to his fate. When they enter the office, the manager sits him down and gets straight to the point in a chilling voice. He's asking if you know about the talk going around the forums. The rumors are spreading like wildfire. The school's glorious reputation has already started to suffer. The manager sternly emphasizes that this job is no child's play. Because those women in the photos are getting their reputations ruined too, and it could legally put the school in a tough spot. The message is for Jiang Hao to clean up this mess quickly, or tougher measures will be taken to protect the school's image. Jiang Hanan doesn't answer to anyone. He demands an immediate investigation to find those behind this slander. While the administrators are at a loss, he waits for his sister's arrival, and the storm they've been expecting breaks out soon enough. Qinchin walks in and the place turns into a battlefield. The woman is literally setting management on fire. His voice is so loud that the students at the door listen in with fear and curiosity. It's no use, even if the manager calls it a misunderstanding. Chechnya has turned into a powder keg. She would never allow her brother to be bullied over this so-called mistake. Jiang Hao turns back to apologize and swears she'll go teach everyone in class a lesson and clear the air. Jiang Hao shakes his head, tells her to get back to work and that he'll handle it, and calms her down before sending her off. When our guy returns to class, Mia approaches with worried eyes and asks if everything's okay, but the real problem is something else. Turns out, while he was gone, Ilong panicked after a suspicious call from Feng's gang and just vanished. A sudden chill ran through Jiang Hao. His old friend Ilong had vanished long ago and still hadn't returned. Meanwhile, poor Ilong was trapped in an abandoned, filthy restroom. Worse still, even his phone's signal didn't work in this damn place. She felt like she'd been kidnapped in a cheap horror movie. Feng and his cronies trapped him and locked him inside. Now his only hope was a miracle. Meanwhile, Jiang Hao and his team were scouring the school, asking everyone they met if they'd seen their missing friend. A girl from the gossip vine reported back. He spoke with a third grader and learned that Ilong was seen near the restrooms. When Jiang Hao saw the smirking Feng and his gang in the backyard, the missing pieces of the puzzle clicked together in his mind like a flash of lightning. Fengen's hatred was so intense that since he couldn't overpower Jiang Hao, he took it out on his friends. Our hero headed for the toilets in a rage. As Ilong was about to lose hope and sink into darkness, he suddenly heard his best friend's calm and reassuring voice. With tears streaming down her face, she cried out in relief. He thought he'd never get out, and all he wanted was to run back home. Ueva told her to step aside and, with a superhuman kick, shattered that solid door as if it were made of paper. While the kids around froze at the girl's monstrous power, Jiang Hao hugged his friend, knowing this was just the beginning for Feng and his sidekicks. Ilong was whining as he told it. The bullies didn't just lock him up, they poured milk on him. He wanted to run to the teacher right away, but Jiang Hao rejected the wimpy plan. When the bell rang, revenge was going to be a dish best served cold. Our hero, a man of his word, cornered that bully Feng right after school. Feng tried to lecture on morality while struggling frantically. How could this psychopath raise a hand against his own classmate? But Jiang Hao didn't care at all. He told her to her face without blinking that he didn't need a reason. Feng should have only worried about himself. Because his sister already came to school and cleared up those made-up rumors. What's more, the victim he locked in the toilet was there, and Foam was too stupid to realize the gravity of the situation. Backyard security cameras caught every second. Jiang Hao gave him 2 options out of pure kindness. First was to confess your lies fair and square. If he refused, those humiliating videos would be spread to the whole school. The second option was to ignore the offer. Then the footage would have gone straight to the school administration he feared. And that meant getting expelled. Foam froze in fear and trembling, clung to the first option. He mumbled a weak apology, but Jiang Hao cut him off. There was one last lesson he had to burn into his mind. If he dared to mess with him again, Jiang Hao would kill him right then and there. Yellow asked with a tremble if this was for certain. Would Foam betray us and cause trouble in the future? Jiang Hao smirked. He couldn't be that stupid. After all, he was a senior. With one mistake, the videos would go to the teacher and his life would be ruined. The risk of being expelled kept him in line. Jiang Hao happily closed the topic. It was time to go home now. As Yellow walked away, Jiang Hao and Yuehua were left alone. Suddenly, he asked that question on his mind. Who's that? Yuehua has become serious. Nanwei was the head of the family and possessed terrifying power. But were they stronger than Yuehua's family? Even Yuehua didn't know the answer. Their powers were probably equal. The atmosphere suddenly fell into an eerie silence. Jiang Hao was just realizing the wealth and influence of the girl beside him. But this woman, Amanan, wasn't one to give up. If that woman targeted Jiang Hao, that inevitable and bloody confrontation was bound to happen sooner or later. That's why she decides to take charge and set up that meeting. Meanwhile, Nan wakes up in her luxury mansion, probably bathing in money. But the lady isn't pleased at all. It's been exactly 3 days since she spoke with Jiang Hao. She's practically going through love withdrawal. She can't believe he still hasn't called. She's so sure there was a spark during that last phone call, she's probably already set a wedding date in her head. Now, as he broods in deep disappointment, his assistant bursts in and brutally interrupts this rich man's depression. Turns out a client wants to meet at that famous sage house. So Nan has to accept it and start the preparations. It's just a stroke of fate. Meanwhile, Qin's stepbrother Jiang Hao grabs her arm and drags her to the same place. As for our poor villager, he starts sweating bullets the moment he sees luxury. But Qin quickly fixes the situation. Apparently, poor guy had a very long and exhausting day at school. The goal is to do her a favor and make her feel you're always there for her. While Jiang Hao melts under the attention, our girl blinks and shyly reveals her intentions. And says they should go inside. The girl looks stunning today, but our clueless Jiang Hao is too busy staring at the glitz to even notice her. What a total blockhead. Walking through the hall, Jiang Hao catches sight of a familiar figure. He thinks he saw you while waiting by the bathroom. He has a death wish and doesn't even know it. But the woman vanishes into thin air like a ghost. Our confused boy heads to the table, and Qin enjoys her wealth, telling him to order whatever he wants. Trying to hide his insecurity, Jiang Hao immediately demands an alcoholic drink to prove he's a grown man and save his pride. The truth was, since stepping into this strange world, not a single drop of wine had passed his lips, and now he craved that toxic elixir like parched, cracked earth. Taking advantage of their parents being out of town, Qin agrees to his brother's innocent request, unaware he's opening the door to disaster. As soon as the glass is filled, Yanko takes a big gulp and lets out a laugh, unaware of what's coming, as the drink tastes as light as cold water. With that sly smile on his lips, Qin watches his brother's innocence, enjoying it like a hunter watching prey fall into a trap. But a twist of fate follows quickly. As the wine hits him like a sledgehammer, Yanko is stunned to remember the legendary tolerance of his old world. Now, even a single glass has completely knocked him out. While his head is spinning, Qin advises him to slow down and get something in his stomach. Otherwise, his stomach is bound to go on strike. Even though Yanko nods, the alcohol has already started spreading through his blood like a virus. As her brother's drunken state begins to worry Qin, Yanko stumbles to his feet and lurches toward the bathroom, claiming he needs to splash water on his face. The man who once drank barrels without flinching now shuts down completely, wondering how a single glass hit him this hard. With a mind blurred by drink, he stumbles into the she-wolf's den, the women's restroom, and heads for the sink, unaware. When he washes his face and turns around, he comes face to face with his nightmare. Both of them are in shock for a moment as Nan stands there like a ghost, staring at him. With that liquid courage from the alcohol, Yanko's questioning what a girl is doing in the men's room, not yet grasping how pathetic he looks. When Nan hits him with the cold truth, Yanko looks around, realizes he's using the wrong language, and sinks into the ground with shame. Now feeling like a lost lamb caught among wolves, the poor boy panics, not knowing what to do, and rushes to the nearest booth. Trying to escape the wrath of the women outside, his brain freezes up, and he makes the mistake of a lifetime by dragging Nan into the stall with him. He's completely lost his ability to think rationally. Even Nan is trying to figure out why this idiot is forcing her to hide too. Cornered, Yanko tries to blame this nonsense on alcohol, admitting he had a few drinks and his head is spinning. Then Nan appears with a grin, like a predator cornering its prey. He pins the kid to the door and leans into him. As for Jiang Hao, he turns pale with terror at this eerie proximity. Nan whispers that he's the one who should be trembling, because standing before him is a strong, independent, and lethally beautiful predator. Yanko is speechless. His brain is on blue screen. Nan walks up to him and demands to know why he still hasn't called her. When the woman thrusts her chest forward like a threat, his face turns beet red. The poor guy stuttering, saying they were supposed to meet tomorrow. But fate has already spun its web in this restroom. Nan giggles at her panic while Yanko looks away in embarrassment. He grabs her chin and tilts her head up, as if demanding she look at him. He's changed his mind and doesn't see him as an employee anymore. He's got his eyes fixed straight on the bedroom. Yanko reminds her that the last woman who threw herself at him like this simply vanished from the face of the earth. Nan fires back with an answer instantly. He says that the woman she mentioned is Louise, and she was excommunicated by her own organization for running illegal business. Our goofy Yanko is getting all mixed up. He wonders to himself, if the woman was guilty, why didn't you go to the police? But Nan just brushes it off, saying men are so fussy. It's like he's talking about the weather, not a murder. Yanko is moaning for her to let him go, but Nan doesn't even care, she's demanding he be her man. Our guy leans in like he's going to answer and suddenly starts tickling the woman. When Nan loosens her grip in shock, it slips out like soap. He bursts out of the bathroom and bolts. She's screaming in triumph inside, thinking, I can't believe you fell for such a simple trick. He thinks he's free, but the moment he steps out, a bigger trouble awaits. So his sister stands before him, rambling with an anxious face. The little girl asks why her brother is camping out in the bathroom, and if he's okay. Yet your eyes are hiding something else. Yanko hides the fact that he was wrestling with the dominant lady inside, lying that he drank too much and lost track of time. Chin-chin, let's go home, she says, leaning her head on her brother's shoulder. This scene might look innocent, but eerie music plays in the background. Back home, Yanko collapses onto the bed like a corpse. Chin-chin enters the room with tea in hand, like a keeper feeding his prey. While the man mumbles drunkenly, she looks at him and thinks what a helpless little bunny he is, with a chilling kind of love. Seeing his brother is out of it, Chin-chin takes the opportunity to lean in close. Restricted area violation begins. He plants a light kiss on her lips. She knows this man will eventually be hers in full-blown obsessed Yandere mode. She doesn't even believe the lie that it was just a kiss. He grips her hand tightly, and presses his lips to her neck this time. It just won't stop. Yanko opens his eyes, but he's so high. Seeing his brother's face so close, he thinks he's dreaming. Oh son, you're in a nightmare. While the dark desires inside explode like a volcano, his brain lies to him, saying it's just a sweet dream. With a sudden move, he pins her down and takes full control. He is convinced that he must give this hallucination the answer it deserves. Chin-chin is frozen in shock by this sudden brutality, her face burning with shame. Chaos reigns inside Yanko's head. The devil inside whispers with a grin, just do it. After all, there are no rules or moral guardians in a dream. The other side is the cry of conscience. He keeps reminding me that Chin-chin is part of the family, and that he's always treated her as kindly as an angel. While the civil war goes on, Yanko slowly leans in. Just when you think he'll cross that dangerous line and turn a TVMA, he makes an unexpected move. He plants a tender kiss on her forehead. He finishes his Sigma show by whispering that even in a dream, a real man would never take advantage of a vulnerable woman. Our hero, completely exhausted, collapses right into his stepsister's arms. Chin is shocked at first, but then that uncanny soft expression settles on her face. Watching the sleeping boy, her face flushes as her inner pervert wakes up. As he lays her in bed and smiles at her innocence, Zanko's phone suddenly ruins that romantic, or rather, creepy moment. A girl's name, Zhaoing, flashes on the screen. Chin picks up the phone, but before he can even speak, a high-pitched, chirpy, annoying voice bursts from the other end. Zanko's classmate, this girl is finally celebrating now that the phone is on. She keeps complaining about why he's been acting so cold lately. Then she asks in a trembling voice if she did anything to upset him. As the words pour out, she finally drops the bombshell and admits she's crazy about our boy. He says he wants to be with her, but Chin shuts him down. With a freezing voice, she says, "I'm Zanko's older sister, honey," leaving the girl's high hopes dashed. The other girl stammers and immediately goes into just friends mode, but I'm not buying it. Chin doesn't fall for these tricks. He attacks right away. He tells her to her face that he knows she's been following Zanko like a shadow for 2 years and must end this obsession immediately. He says Zanko would never even look at someone like her, and warns her sternly not to bother his brother again. As Chin hangs up and watches Zanko sleeping peacefully, that forbidden, dangerous thought creeps out from the dark corners of her mind. She wonders why he can't just be mine. Bending down to press that innocent-looking but proprietary kiss on her forehead, he whispers that he will wait patiently. He is certain his time will come. The next day, Zanko wakes up with a massive hangover. His memory of that night is completely gone. All she remembers is shaming herself in front of her stepsister, then passing out at home like a corpse. She feels a weird fluttering in her stomach, but her brain denies it, trying to fool herself by saying, "It's just a dream, don't be ridiculous." When he stumbles into the bathroom and looks at his reflection, the sight makes his heart race as if it might jump out of his chest. There are huge bite marks on their neck. Panic takes over his entire body as the boy is about to lose his mind. Chin appears at the door and asks if you're okay with that fake innocence. That's the moment it suddenly clicks in Zanko's brain. The dream, that strange mark, and those symbols on your neck are all connecting. It hits me that the person behind everything might be that angel-faced devil, Chin. Just as Zanko is about to cause a scene, Chin bursts in like a pro liar, claiming it's just alcohol energy. Zanko can't believe she's such a delicate flower, but when the woman in front of him is a doctor, everything else just stops. Chin gets closer, saying, "Come here," while pretending to check the situation. Unclear if his intent is a checkup or harassment. Zanko's tensed up and trying to run, but his sister is totally calm, telling him there'll be some swelling and it's all normal, essentially putting him to sleep while he's wide awake. She tells him to be careful on his way to school and sends him off to get ready. Operation completed successfully. Zanko is far from reassured, but for now, he has no choice but to go along with everything Chin says. Our boy's the type who wears turtlenecks at school to hide those hickeys on his neck. Even his buddy Yelong is teasing him, like, "What's up, man? Are we heading to the Arctic?" When asked if he's switched to winter clothes, Zanko tries to save face by saying real men don't care about the heat or cold. Actually, the poor guy is roasting like a sausage inside that sweater. Right as they're joking around, someone suddenly grabs Zanko by the collar. And he's making threats, telling me to stay away from my leader's girl. The girl he mentioned is that obsessed type who called Zanko last night while he was sleeping. But Zanko has no idea what's going on, the kid is just standing there like an idiot. Still, she hates neither this tone nor the dirty hands that guy put on her. With a sharp look, he grabs the guy's wrist and shoves him like he's tossing a trash bag. When the punk hits the floor and bangs his head, all his charisma just disappears. His ears blown, he's shaking in pain. The hunter has officially become the hunted. Because Zanko is way more dangerous than he looks. Gang leader Lin Song watches the scene with a smirk. "Looks like you're enjoying the fight." He thinks he now understands why the girl he likes chose a guy like that. Yelong jumps right in and summarizes the situation. Whispers that Lin Song is the basketball captain and in the same class as that obsessed girl, Xiaoying. But Zanko has no time for this high school drama. She says, "I'm not in the mood to deal with you," and walks off coolly. They're saying if they care so much about the girl's feelings, they should go talk to her instead of dragging others into this. So he's basically telling you to get lost, politely. Surprisingly, that so-called alpha male finds this advice logical. Just then, Zanko notices Yuhua watching them from the sidelines. The girl asks if they should teach them a lesson, but Zanko refuses the violence, saying they're just students. Instead, he tells her, "Teach me how to box, a real man must be strong." Yelong is in shock, his jaw drops. When he asks if we're seriously having class after school, Zanko says yes and invites Yelong too. The point is not to let him get crushed, so he can defend himself. So no one would ever mess with them again. On the other side of town, in her luxury apartment, Nan swims in the pool to clear her head. But no matter how hard she tries, she can't shake those moments in the bathroom with Zanko from her mind. Stress weighs on his shoulders like a mountain, and he realizes he must fix this at the root, or he'll lose his mind. He immediately calls his assistant and orders Zanko to be packed up and brought to him as soon as he leaves school. When school ends, Zanko, Yelong, and Yuheiwa meet at that old warehouse for boxing practice. Our skinny Zanko realized today he needs to strengthen his abs so he doesn't blow away, as his body is still as thin as a stick figure. While he was dreaming of those mouth-watering baklavas, Yuheiwa misunderstood and suddenly lifted her shirt, shoving her sculpted abs right in the boy's face. Our fake shy guy Zanko instantly covered his eyes with his hands and started wailing that his modesty was being lost. But in vain, that magnificent view was already etched into his retina, and deep down, he was dying to have a body just like that. Putting shame aside, he approached her and brushed his fingers over those steel-hard yet elegant abs, admiring them like a work of art. Yuheiwa blushed like a bead at that touch, implying our rookie has a long way to go before reaching that level. Watching from the sidelines, Yelong was struck by the strangeness of the scene. Our guy touches her, but she didn't back down even a bit. Zanko paused for a moment, realizing he had become a harasser, yet he couldn't understand why the girl didn't speak up. But Yuheiwa just shrugged like it was the most normal thing in the world, acting as if this little bit of contact was nothing to even mention. She even went so far as to say she wouldn't hesitate to expose the rest of her body if her master wished, making Zanko think she had a screw loose. When Yelong said this devious course would lead to trouble, our sharp friend Zanko immediately pivoted and changed the subject completely. Putting romance aside, poor Yelong was speechless when I ordered Yuheiwa to hand over every cent he had. But Yuheiwa emptied his pockets without hesitation, and as if that weren't enough, he started handing over his bank passwords on a silver platter. Panicking, Zanko silenced the girl and tried to explain that if she's this naive, malicious hyenas will strip her of everything she owns. And when he asked the reason for this blind obedience, the answer he received was blood-curdling. To Yuheiwa, friendship meant bowing to every single desire.